And good morning. It is 8:14. Now we can do the official opening. You know, makes it official here. Joining us in the studio this morning from Chaves County, we have County Commissioner Dara and County Manager Bill Williams with us.
Good morning.
Good morning, fellas,
morning.
folks, ladies. How is everybody doing today?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Good. I
Little
know
chilly.
it is, but it's nicer than yesterday.
I
So
don't
we
know.
can't-
It was 16 out at our
Yeah.
place. That was a little
yeah.
chilly.
Well, it's supposed to get 60 some today.
Yes.
So
Hopefully
even though
it
you'll
will.
feel it now, by
Yes.
this afternoon, you're going to be thinking,
Yes.
okay, it's a little
I'm
bit
just
nicer.
tired of the wind and the dust.
Yeah.
That kicked my butt Wednesday.
Well, it keeps messing with us. They'll give us
Ugh.
this beautiful day of
Yes.
70s and sunny, and then just when you get comfortable with that, they turn around and drop a
Yes.
30-degree, 50-mile-an-hour wind day on you. So,
Yep.
welcome to New Mexico.
Yes.
Well, yesterday, the county commission did meet.
Yes, we did. It was Resolution Thursday. That's what I called it.
A lot of resolving to do things.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Which is
yes.
good because really at the end of the day, that's what the county commission does is make things happen and be, where's the money going? Where's it spent? How that's
Yeah.
what the county
Well,
commission is there to do.
It's a way for us to voice, and especially with Santa Fe and Washington, D.C., with the majorities that they have and the way it is going. This is about the only way that we can kind of make our voice heard
Sure.
for Chaves County, and people don't understand that. They're like, well, why don't you do this, this, and this? Well, we can't. We're in the minority in Santa Fe
Sure.
and in Washington, D.C., but
This is your
we
official
pass-
stance on an
exactly.
issue. Yeah.
And two, people don't realize when Yvette Harrell is in Washington, D.C., or our legislators are in Santa Fe, they can hold these resolutions up and say, well, back in our home district, we have support from our county commissions and stuff, because that's one thing that being in Santa
Sure.
Fe, being in Washington,
Yeah.
D.C., they'll say, well, we didn't hear from anybody, so therefore we assume everything
must
is
be
okay.
okay.
Yeah.
It must be okay.
And that's
And Commissioner
Yes.
Cavan and I just got back from Washington, D.C. The National Association of Counties actually got back Wednesday, just in time for Resolution Thursday. And the Waters of the U.S. is one of the resolutions that we talked about yesterday. And the National Association of Counties, we put forth the very same resolution saying, hey, you need to get this stuff going. And
Okay.
that came from people throughout the West mostly. Well, actually, the Waters of the U.S. actually has quite a bit of support even back east because it's such a disaster, allowing the EPA to take over so much stuff. We'll get into that later. But we presented a resolution based on all of our counties' resolutions, and then they take that forward. So it has, it gets their attention when all the counties in the U.S. come to Congress and say,
Absolutely.
hey, you need to do something here.
Well, it's kind of the same reason why we always tell to write your legislators,
Yes.
in Santa Fe, say to tell them your opinion on a certain bill or a certain issue. It's the same concept. They're using it as ammunition to make the fight in the
Right.
legislature for that.
And sometimes we feel like this is going on deaf ears. You do a resolution, it's like they don't care.
But it does.
But it does.
Sometimes it does.
It does.
Sometimes it's exactly
Right.
what they need to hear and the support that they need to carry it forward.
And I would imagine you probably get a little more headway in election years
Well, and we
than
saw
you do
it.
non-election years.
We see it in Santa Fe and here too.
Mm-hmm.
The phone calls, the letters. The one thing I will tell everybody is don't do the postcard that AARP or whoever sends out
The generic.
because
yeah.
I will ask. I'll call and ask. Do you know what what is this about?
Do you know what you're
Explain it to me.
complaining
And
about?
they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. If you give a phone call or you send a letter, make it personalized.
Absolutely.
And we saw during this last session, especially with quite a few bills, boy, they were blowing up the phones and the emails.
Good.
And it did have an impact.
It does.
It had a great impact this last
Well,
session.
at the end of the day, and regardless, Democrat, Republican, whatever, they answer to the people. That's the
Yes.
job of an elected official, county commissioner to state legislature to president on up. That's just how it works.
And Dara has served all of those except for president, I believe.
Yes, I haven't done that
Well, that's
yet.
next, President Dana.
I don't think so.
But and that's that. And sometimes we got to remember now. Don't be a jerk. But at the
Right.
same
Yes.
time,
Right.
Yes.
Same time, stand
Yes.
firm in your convictions
Yes.
and be polite and concise and this is why I always tell people when it comes to elections and everything else, if you're using social media as your platform for learning things, you're probably only getting one side of the picture.
Yes.
You're not
Absolutely.
getting,
Very
certainly not
true.
getting all the details. You're getting all
Right.
the emotion, but not so much the logic.
Right.
And it's no different here. If you come presenting logic and actual, meat of issues, that's going to go a lot farther than you saying, you suck, this is
Yes.
dumb.
Exactly. And we get a lot of that. Social media has really, and I tell people, social media is social.
Yeah.
So take in consideration
Yeah, it's a
what they're
valuable tool,
saying.
but at the same time, it
can be.
it's not anything official.
That's true. But yes, we passed a lot of resolutions yesterday,
Very good.
and
Well, let's talk about
it
a few of
was-
those. Let's highlight some of the ones we definitely want to put on people's radar here.
Okay, well, I mentioned earlier we opposed the congressional districts because Chaves County is now broken up into 3 separate congressional districts.
Yeah.
The largest municipality, of course, City of Roswell, were broken into 2 separate congressional districts, and we just don't feel like that was a very fair way of dividing up our state, saying that the agriculturalists in the South Valley and Albuquerque represent the agricultural values in Chaves County because
Sure.
It's a different dynamic.
Sure.
My daughter lives up there, and there's a Walmart directly across the street from an alfalfa field. I guarantee you that value of that farmland there is a whole lot different than the value of the farmland here.
Sure. Well,
They're
just-
just waiting for the offer to come in
Yes.
to build the Sam's or whatever.
Well, it
And
just depending on what district you live in the city of Roswell alone, you're also sharing the same congressional district as Albuquerque proper.
Right.
And I'm not a math wizard, but there's a lot more people in Albuquerque than there is in this district of Roswell.
Yes.
So and we already know their ideology.
Right.
So you kind of canceled out anything that these
Right.
people think because their representation isn't going to address that.
Well, now that we don't really have local news networks like we used to have, all we get is the Albuquerque news. All we
Sure.
hear is their values and their input. We
Sure.
seldom get to hear what we have to say. We are fortunate that they do have reporters and stuff that address our local issues, but we
Yeah.
get 2 minutes of the news, whereas Albuquerque gets the rest of it
Sure.
and tells us what we should be thinking.
Well, and I'm curious, like they say this is supposed to make it more, where everyone's represented here. And I guess, you could make that case maybe, but that's assuming people's ideologies change. You almost have to, you know what I mean? So are you saying that our influence is going to penetrate into Albuquerque now because of this? I
Right.
don't see that happening.
No.
They seem to think that,
No.
we're going to they're going to come around to our side now because
Right.
that's like
it's-
that's the argument they're giving us basically.
It's total opposite.
and it
They
feels-
want the northern New Mexico influence on southern New Mexico
Yeah.
because we don't. They see it all the time in Washington
We're the thorn
and
in the
Santa
side.
Fe.
Yeah.
We are. Okay, so you are oil and gas. Thank you very much for oil and gas. I have heard this in committee over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
They'll start out, thank you for the oil and gas. Thank you for the money. And then they'll turn around and go, but you suck. You're ruining the environment.
Well-
You're killing birds. You're killing
and it's easy in the social-
spotted owl.
Yeah, and it's easy in the public media
Yes,
to villainize oil and gas.
Yes.
And you got Hollywood helping you out and everything
Yes.
else.
Oh, yes.
But I would argue, thank God oil and gas is as powerful as it is.
Yes.
Because they would have
Yes.
been run roughshod over had they not had the power and the parts we hate about government, the influence side and all that. It's actually working in our favor this way to keep, if that makes sense what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is it because oil and gas has a strong lobby, has a strong
Yes.
group fighting for them in D.C. That's the only reason why we have a thorn in
Well,
this
and-
side,
You know what the largest lobbyist that came to Santa Fe first rattle out of the bat, the first day that you are in Santa Fe. It isn't oil and gas. It isn't the lobbyist that you think of. It's NEA, the National Education
teachers.
Association. And they walk in your office and they tell you this is how it's and more money, more money, more money, more money, and no to school vouchers.
Yeah, they are very...
They're very powerful.
they are.
And AARP is too.
Yeah.
But AARP is not a conservative group, as most would think.
Yeah.
They finally got on board with the Social Security tax elimination. Finally, it took them a while to get them to even. And it's like you're a senior.
It's like you're representing seniors. Why would you not?
Why would you not?
Oh yes, our seniors should pay more money.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna get behind that.
For social programs, it's amazing to me the lobbyists that were. I was just amazed.
Yeah, that's just dumb.
Yeah, and that's why I tell everybody you are a lobbyist. Mm-hmm. You are an individual lobbyist. You go to Santa Fe, you go to Washington, D.C., or you call because you are the first lobbyist in line, and you should be the first lobbyist in line.
Absolutely. Because, it's one of those things, and we need to remind, and I think that's part of it too. And this is maybe where it's a political party thing, both sides. I'm not trying to one or the other. We need to remind these parties that you don't work for your party, you work for us.
Yes.
And I feel like, especially when you get in the upper echelons, Congress, Senate, those levels.
Yes. I don't know you.
Yeah, they've gone through the gauntlet, and they've been jaded, and whatever values and principles they had to aspire to be that kind of gets ripped away or
and they get an ego like, I know more than you do.
Yes.
How dare you try to tell me, you bunch of corn pones?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm superior.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
Absolutely.
You represent us, like it or not.
And your vote is
who
the
we
one
are.
place.
This is what we want.
Yes.
That's the one thing they pay attention to, and the power is there. So
yes,
please.
it is.
I know we
get
got
out and vote.
soapboxy here, but educate yourself in this municipal election, and of course our primary and general election here later this
Coming
year.
up. Yes.
Definitely do your homework and do your research.
So another group, as long as we're on the soapbox, another group that gets a bad rap from politicians and environmentalists and everyone are the farmers and ranchers. It's not just oil and gas that takes all the heat. Farmers and ranchers have become a target now.
Again, they want the product, but they don't like the manner in which they get it.
I'll go to the grocery store and buy my food.
Yeah, because that's where it magically shows up. We got a ferry that just weighs a wand.
Good luck.
Steak and milk shows up on the shelf.
Those farting cows, are ruining our environment.
Right.
And, I wonder what happened when there were literally millions of buffalo on the plains. Did they not create a problem? Apparently not. That only happened when, agriculturalists came in and started ranching and feeding those cows beans or whatever, making them excessively fart. But one of the things that has been under attack, farmers and ranchers, and one of the things that we've passed a resolution on yesterday is waters of the U.S. It's a very complicated thing. The Supreme Court has told them 4 times to go back and figure this out. So they rescinded the 2020 rule for, the navigable waters of the U.S.
Okay.
Rule. And the whole problem with the whole WOTUS, they have to define waters of the U.S., and the acronym is WOTUS. If your water line to your stock tank in your corral were to break, you know what happens when a water line breaks? You get a little ditch dug. It may only be a couple inches deep, and that water flows to the lowest point downhill and all. They are trying to make that to where it has to be regulated because there's a nexus with navigable waterway. We're 1,000 miles from any place that can be navigated, the ocean.
Right.
But what they want to say is that any farm activity that creates a drain of water, a ephemeral water stream, temporary water. For instance, if your sprinkler blows out, like say the line to your water tank blows and that water flows, eventually, say that because it's in your corral, it picks up some nitrates from the cow manure, those darn bad cows again, picks up some nitrates, and that flows down to the dry riverbed here in New Mexico. Eventually, it's going to rain, and when it rains, then it's going to carry that nitrate further down the deal and join with a body of water like the Pecos or the Rio Grande. Eventually, it ends up out in the ocean and might hurt a whale. Well, first of all, that amount of nitrate that's in that water is going to be very minimal.
Right.
And I understand we're not talking like a huge feedlot or the factories, like I don't remember what movie it was where they're dumping all their waste in the river. And of course that goes right out to the ocean, creates a lot of problems. They're talking about having to have a government 404 permit from the Army Corps of Engineers for any type of thing, including the bar ditches on the side of the road. So now before the county can go and maintain the roads, they have to get a 404 permit.
Oh, geez.
You know how long it takes to get any kind of permit from the federal government? We would be out of luck.
This is the
And then they're
dumbest-
going to come and
Yeah.
inspect it and make sure that you're not going to contaminate anything and make sure, this is just
Like-
stupidity on steroids.
Like when I hear this, the next thing I think is next they're going to have an inspector to come and measure the amount of dead skin on your mattress to decide whether it's time to replace it or not. I mean,
and,
that's what
and find out if you tore off that tag
Yes.
that says do not remove under penalty of law.
Yes.
It's like because it's a grave environmental
Here we
risk with all
go.
that dead skin in there.
Yeah.
You know,
Here
But
we
the
go.
Environmental
Okay.
Protection Agency is the agency that's responsible for doing this. So they've gone back and forth trying to determine what the waters of the U.S. are, navigable waters, and the nexus of these waters, coming from temporary storm flows, storm drains. There are so many components to this that they're saying, well, we might need to inspect that. We might need to watch that.
Yeah.
And again, I just feel like it's an attack on agriculture and
Sure.
farming.
Yes. This is
a
just-
big part of it is anyway.
This is just
Yes.
a nitpick control thing, and it's like,
Yes.
okay,
And-
we're going to
Yes.
keep you busy with this while we do other things over here.
And
That's
Right.
the
what this feels like.
2020
Right.
rule kind of had it in check. They said, okay, these waters, agriculture, these ephemeral streams and temporary stream flows just based on precipitation events, those aren't counted. Those are excluded. There's agricultural exemptions all throughout there. There's exemptions for bar ditches on roads. All those things were in place in 2020. But when the new administration came in, guess what? Oh, those other people put that in. I don't care if it makes sense or not. We're
Right.
throwing it out.
It's
And
not our idea,
so-
not our
Yes.
thing. We want it gone.
So
Yeah.
now we're back to what they call the 1986 rule that's up in the air. Nobody knows what any of it means. And the Supreme Court has already thrown out that rule that once it was expanded and turned into the 2015 rule. I don't know. It's just a big mess. But anyway, we came out opposing the changes or the negation, I guess, of the 2020 rule for navigable waters and the definition or the evolving definition of waters of the U.S. So
Gotcha.
it was a complicated one. It was very difficult to write that
Yes.
resolution.
Sure.
There's
Yes.
so much
Well, you got to get the wording
information.
just right.
Oh,
and,
man.
Yes.
And
do.
I guess this is why
Yes.
the lawyers get the big bucks, right? Is to make the wording just right
Yeah.
and make sure.
But that's one that absolutely shows you the dysfunction that we
Yes.
have.
Sure.
If the other group put it in, I'm taking it out. Mm-hmm. And I don't care how it hurts
Right.
America.
Yeah.
I don't care
Right.
if it means you can't
But it-
maintain your roads. I don't care.
it feeds my ego and proves that I'm in charge.
It's amazing how divided. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
watching the state legislature.
So let me.
And-
I mean, is there any help from the state level for when you guys make these resolutions? I mean, I'm sure there's other counties in concert
Yes,
with you, but
there is.
Yeah.
is there anything from Santa Fe saying, "Yeah, we'll back you on this"? I mean, is there any of that going on at all?
It just depends. I mean, they'll pass resolutions and
Okay.
stuff. Memorials, resolutions,
If it's
and things
blatantly
like that.
bad, they'll get on board with
Yeah,
it.
yeah, but it just depends on
Sure. Well, it's all politics.
And again,
It
like I
is.
said, we went
It
to
is.
the
All
National
politics.
Association
It
of
is.
Counties. The local government are the ones that if we make enough noise,
Yes.
the lower the level is,
Mm-hmm.
if we make enough noise, they do finally listen. And National Association of Counties actually
Yeah.
does have
Yeah.
a lot of push. And
that's your real saving
once-
grace. Is
once
is
we
that-
just-
is
Very
that-
nice.
yeah.
Once
Yes.
we discuss this with all the groups, and it,
Yes.
there are liberal people in National Association of Counties because, I mean, it's from all over the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, I've been to 2 county fairs and a goat rope and never seen some of the stuff I've seen at National Association of Counties. But anyway, we were able to, through several different committees and conversations we had about waters of the U.S., we got the full support, and they passed a resolution. Well, those resolutions go directly out,
Okay.
to Congress, to the president, and they like to say, we've got the support of National Association of Counties. So those things do help, but I want to
Yes.
remind people local government is where it's at.
Sure.
Yes.
Well,
Be
that's
sure
where-
and contact
Yes.
your commissioners and
Well, and
let
that's where
them
the
know.
real power is, because at the end of the day, you're the elected officials,
Right.
and
And-
elected
Yeah.
officials always take precedent over appointed officials.
And
Yes.
it should.
And as
it
long
should.
as we
Right.
stand firm, because the real
Yes.
power is in local government, and most of the government agencies are required by their own rules to coordinate with local governments. Anytime they're doing a new plan or whatever, now they try to circumvent that process.
Yes.
In fact, we just had a very similar thing. I think we talked about it last time with the Forest Service. And I know that
The wisdom of the forest.
that Congresswoman
Yes.
Harrell is going to be on next hour, and I want to thank her right here now publicly. She got on board with us with a
Yes.
conference call with the Forest Service, and I mean, she really was involved. She understood the situation. She got in.
Good.
She was all in and supported us. And we're not talking just Chaves County in this particular battle. It's Chaves, Eddy, Lincoln, and Otero counties are all four
Sure.
facing the potential of possibly as much as 403,000 acres of wilderness area just thrown at us, and we had no say in any of it. And
Yeah, I would imagine, especially like Lincoln County, where they probably got a larger percentage of it in their county. They're going to be.
we have a
much more-
very small amount in our
Yeah.
counties, but Eddy County, you got the Guadalupe.
Eddy, yeah.
And Otero County, it looks like a checkerboard when you look at the maps of what they want to take
Yes.
over as wilderness area. Lincoln County already has 2 wilderness areas, and they're expanding those probably by 4 times.
Yeah.
Or that's a potential issue.
Well, we looks like our congresswoman is on the phone here. Let me do this. It's okay. Let's pause for news real quick. I'm going to talk with her, and then we'll have everybody back on the other side here. So,
Thank you.